When we find ourselves in the midst of a toxic situation, one of the most powerful tools we can wield is the ability to be self-aware. Self-awareness is the foundation of emotional intelligence, and it is often the
them rickety
key to
vans,
responding rather
them
than
buses,
reacting.
them charter buses.
In
When the
toxic
train
environments, the
station
natural
here
instinct is
in
often to fight
downtown
back,
been already
defend
fixed,
ourselves,
if it was
or
the same
retreat in
problem, why it's
frustration.
taking longer to fix
But
in
what
our
if,
neighborhoods?
instead of rushing into an emotional reaction,
Why
we
is
could
the train
pause,
taking so long to fix? We got
and
places
choose
to
how we
be.
want to respond? This is where emotional intelligence, through the lens of self-awareness, becomes
You want
our
to know what I
greatest
gotta
ally.
say?
In the heat of the moment, when
Jersey
emotions run
City
high and tensions
is
rise,
so diverse.
it's easy to get caught up in the
So
storm.
why do we treat black people the
Someone
way
says
we
something hurtful
do?
or an
Oh,
unfair situation arises, and before we
Right
know
here.
it, we've reacted, sometimes in ways that we regret later. Self-awareness helps us break that cycle. It allows us to step back, to take a breath, and to recognize the emotions that are bubbling up inside us. This pause is powerful because it's in that space, however small, that we reclaim control. Think about it for a moment. How often do we react without thinking, letting our emotions take the lead? Albero, when we are triggered by a toxic interaction, we feel the surge of anger, frustration, or sadness, and all too often, we simply let those feelings carry us away. Emotional intelligence invites us to ask, what is happening inside me right now? By becoming aware of our emotions as they arise, we give ourselves the power to respond more thoughtfully. Instead of being slaves to our emotional impulses, we become the masters of our reactions. Self-awareness also allows us to recognize our own triggers, the things that set us off or make us vulnerable in certain situations. We all have them, whether it's a particular word, a certain behavior, or even the tone of someone's voice. When we aren't aware of these triggers, they have the power to control us. But through self-awareness, we gain insight into why certain things affect us the way they do. We start to understand that our reactions aren't just about the current situation. They often have deeper roots. Maybe we're responding from past experiences or unhealed wounds that haven't yet been addressed. Once we recognize these emotional patterns, we can begin to take responsibility for them. Instead of blaming others for our reactions, we shift the focus inward and ask ourselves, why does this situation affect me so deeply? What is it about this that feels threatening or upsetting? By answering these questions, we create space for personal growth. We begin to understand ourselves more fully, and as a result, we become more adept at managing our emotional responses. In toxic situations, this level of self-awareness gives us the strength to hold our ground, to stay aligned with our values, and to choose a more constructive response, no matter what's happening around us. It's not about suppressing our emotions. Far from it. Far from it. Emotional intelligence isn't about pretending that we don't feel hurt, angry, or upset. It's about feeling those emotions fully and then choosing how we engage with them. Self-awareness allows us to acknowledge the emotions without letting them take over. It's the difference between being driven by our feelings and being guided by our values. In toxic environments, our emotional responses can often be hijacked by the intensity of the situation. But through the practice of self-awareness, we reclaim our ability to stay grounded. Imagine standing in the center of a storm, feeling the winds howling around you, and yet, instead of being swept away by them, you remain steady and calm. That's what emotional intelligence, supported by self-awareness, enables us to do. It lets us stand firm, not in defiance, but in clarity. But this process of becoming more self-aware doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice, and it requires us to be brutally honest with ourselves. We have to be willing to reflect on our own behaviors, our reactions, and the impact they have on those around us. It means being willing to ask tough questions and confront uncomfortable truths. How do we respond when we're hurt? What is our first instinct when we're challenged? And most importantly, are we responding in a way that aligns with who we want to be in the world? The more we practice self-awareness, the more we develop the ability to
them
see
rickety
ourselves clearly,
vans,
our
them
strengths, our
buses,
weaknesses,
them
our
charter
biases,
buses,
our fears,
when the
our
train
fears.
stations
And as we do
in
this, we start
downtown
to see
been
how much
already
control we
fixed.
actually
If
have
it was
over
the
how
same
we
problem,
react
why
to
it's
the
taking
world.
longer to fix in
Emotional
our
intelligence
neighborhoods?
is not about suppressing our feelings.
Why is the train
or
taking so long
pretending
to
that
fix? We got
everything
places to
is
be.
fine when it isn't. It's about fully experiencing our emotions and then choosing consciously.
You want to
move
know what I
forward.
gotta say?
This process of choice is what enables
Jersey
us to navigate
City
toxicity
is
without
so
becoming consumed by
diverse.
it. Think of it like
So
this.
why do we treat black people the way
Self-awareness
we
is the
do?
compass that
Oh,
helps
we
us
need
stay
a
on
medic
course.
right here.
Without it, we are adrift, reacting to whatever the world throws our way. But with it, we have a clear sense of direction. We know where we stand, what we value, and how we want to engage with the world. And that clarity is what allows us to thrive even in the midst of toxicity. Ultimately, self-awareness frees us from the chaos of automatic reactions. It allows us to step out of the cycle of blame, resentment, and defensiveness, and into a place of greater understanding, not just of others, but of ourselves. It's in this place of deep understanding that we find true strength. We don't need to fight the storm. We need to understand its patterns and learn how to move with it. So, as we move through the inevitable storms of life, remember this: self-awareness is the stillness in the chaos. It's the quiet voice that whispers, "You are not your emotions. You are not your reactions. You are the observer, the responder, the creator of your experience." And in that truth, we find our power. In any toxic situation, one of the most profound tools we have at our disposal is empathy. Empathy is the ability to put ourselves in another person's shoes, to see the world through their eyes, and to feel what they feel, and to feel what they feel. But let's pause for a moment and consider something deeper. Empathy isn't just about understanding others. It's about connecting with them on a human level, regardless of the toxicity or negativity they might bring to the table. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. When we're faced with toxic behavior, whether it's from a colleague, a friend, or even a stranger, empathy feels like the last thing we want to offer. It's hard to feel compassionate when someone is being dismissive, rude, or hurtful. Our instincts tell us to protect ourselves, to push back, to fight. The fight. And in that moment, it feels almost impossible to empathize with someone who seems intent on causing harm or discomfort. But here's the truth. Empathy, in its purest form, isn't about excusing bad behavior. It's about understanding that beneath every toxic action, there is a person who is carrying their own pain, struggles, and unresolved emotions. When we meet toxicity with empathy, we are not giving the other person permission to behave poorly. Instead, we are choosing to rise above their actions and see them as human beings with their own fears, insecurities, and unmet needs. It's important to realize that toxic behavior often comes from a place of pain or fear, rather than malice. Though, when someone lashes out or behaves in a hurtful way, it's often because they are hurting themselves. They may be projecting their own unresolved issues, their own sense of powerlessness onto others. This is where empathy becomes transformational. Rather than reacting to toxic behavior with more negativity or defensiveness, empathy gives us the opportunity to break the cycle. By choosing to see the humanity behind the behavior, we can begin to soften our response. We don't have to accept the behavior, but we can respond with compassion instead of anger. And in doing so, we not only create a space for healing in the other person, but we also free ourselves from the grip of the negativity. Empathy doesn't mean we agree with what's happening or that we accept the toxic behavior. It's not about tolerating things that are harmful. What empathy allows us to do is step back and say, I understand that you are going through something right now, but that doesn't mean I have to accept this behavior. In the space of understanding, we begin to gain control over how we respond. We move from a place of reactivity to a place of response, calm, measured, and rooted
them
in
rickety
compassion.
vans,
Now,
them buses,
some of you might be
them
thinking,
charter
how can I
buses.
possibly empathize
When the
with
train
someone who has
stations
treated me
here
badly?
in
And that's a
downtown been
valid
already
question.
fixed,
It's
if
not
it was the
always
same
easy,
problem,
and
why
it
it's
takes
taking longer to
practice.
fix in our neighborhoods?
But consider this: when you choose
Why
to
is the
empathize
train
with
taking so
someone,
long to
you are
fix? We
not
got
doing it for
places
them.
to be.
You are doing it for yourself. You are choosing to rise above the situation, to step into a higher state of emotional
You want to know what I gotta
intelligence
say?
to refuse to be pulled down by
Jersey
toxicity
City
around
is
you.
so diverse. So why do
Empathy
we treat
is not
black
about
people the
minimizing
way
your own
we
feelings
do?
or
Oh, we need a
you're not
medic.
hurt. It's
Right
about
here.
recognizing that just as you have your own struggles and pain, so does the person who is being difficult. By understanding this, we can begin to approach the situation with more grace and understanding, rather than reacting out of hurt or anger. This doesn't mean we allow others to walk all over us, but it does mean that we are choosing to respond in a way that is aligned with our values, rather than the toxic energy in front of us. Let me offer you a simple example. Imagine you are in a meeting with a colleague who is being dismissive and combative. They're undermining your ideas, speaking over you, and generally making the atmosphere tense and uncomfortable. Your first instinct might be to become defensive, to shut down, or to fight back. But what if, instead of reacting, you paused for a moment and asked yourself, what might be going on with them? For maybe they are under pressure from their own superiors, feeling insecure about their own ideas, or struggling with something personal that's affecting their behavior. This doesn't excuse their actions, but it gives you a chance to step outside of the immediate tension and approach the situation from a place of curiosity and understanding. In that moment, empathy doesn't mean letting them continue to mistreat you. It means responding with compassion, perhaps offering a calming presence, or simply choosing not to escalate the situation. You might even choose to have a conversation with them later when the emotional charge is settled to express how their behavior impacted you without adding fuel to the fire in the heat of the moment. It's a choice that comes from emotional intelligence, from a deep understanding that the world is more complex than any one interaction. When we choose empathy, we step outside of our own narrow perspective and into a larger understanding of the world. And in doing so, we transform the very nature of the toxic situation we find ourselves in. It's a shift in mindset. From, I'm right and you're wrong until I see you, I understand you. And while I may not agree with your behavior, I can respond in a way that honors both of us. So, this shift allows us to retain our integrity, to stay grounded in who we are, and to engage with others not from a place of defense or attack, but from a place of understanding and respect. Empathy is not weakness, it is strength. And it is the ability to be vulnerable enough to see another person's humanity, even when they are not showing it to you. And in that vulnerability, we find the power to rise above the toxicity, to break the cycle of negativity, and to connect with others in a way that brings healing rather than harm. In the end, empathy is the bridge that connects us all. When we choose to empathize with others, we choose to be part of something bigger than ourselves, a collective effort to navigate the complexities of life with kindness, understanding, and grace. And that, my friends, is the true power of emotional intelligence. When we talk about emotional intelligence, one of the most powerful aspects of it is emotional regulation. It's something that, if we truly embrace it, can change the way we experience and navigate the world. Abid. Emotional regulation isn't about suppressing or ignoring our emotions. It's not about pretending that everything is fine when it's not. Instead, it's the ability to understand our emotions, to sit with them, and then to choose how we want to respond. It's about becoming the calm in the storm. In toxic environments, it's easy to get swept up by the intensity of the emotions swirling around us. Whether it's anger, frustration, anxiety, or resentment, these emotions can be like waves crashing
Them
over us,
rickety
threatening to pull
vans,
us under.
them buses, them charter
We've all been
buses.
there.
When
Whether
the
it's in a
train
heated
station
conversation,
here
a
in
workplace conflict,
downtown been
or a
already
personal
fixed,
disagreement.
if it was the
But
same
emotional
problem, why is it taking
regulation
longer
gives
to
us
fix
the
in our
ability to ride those
neighborhoods?
waves without letting them consume us.
Why is the train taking so
Allows us
long to
remain
fix? We got
steady,
places to
no
be.
matter how turbulent the situation may. Think about the last time you were
You
in a
want to know what
toxic
I gotta
situation.
say?
Maybe it was with a colleague who
Jersey
was
City
dismissive, or
is
a
so
friend who said something
diverse.
hurtful. In that
So
moment, your
why do
emotions
we
likely
treat
flared up.
black people
You
the
felt your
way
pulse
we
quicken,
do? Oh,
your thoughts
we
began
need
to
a medic.
race, and your body
Right here.
tensed with the urge to react. Just react. In those moments, emotional regulation is the tool that allows us to take a step back. It's the ability to pause, to breathe, and to let go of the immediate impulse to lash out. It's the power to observe our emotions without being controlled by them. We live in a world that often values speed over reflection, action over thought. When faced with toxicity, the immediate instinct is to fight back, to defend ourselves, to strike out in self preservation. But this reaction, as natural as it might feel, often makes the situation worse. It escalates the tension, adds fuel to the fire, and perpetuates the cycle of negativity. It's the cycle of negativity. Emotional regulation helps us break this cycle. It gives us the space to choose a response, rather than falling into an automatic reaction. In the heat of a moment, emotional regulation might look like taking a deep breath before responding. It might mean pausing for a few seconds, allowing ourselves the time to process what's happening before we speak or act. This pause might seem small, but it's incredibly powerful. In that moment of stillness, we regain control of the situation. Chuchtawag. We are no longer slaves to our emotions, but active participants in how we engage with the world. It's important to note that emotional regulation doesn't mean bottling up our feelings or denying that we're upset. It means acknowledging our emotions and giving ourselves permission to feel them without allowing them to dictate our behavior. When we practice emotional regulation, we stop letting the emotions in the driver's seat. We take the wheel and steer ourselves in a direction that is aligned with our values, not our impulses. When we regulate our emotions, we also create space for clarity. In toxic situations, emotions can cloud our judgment. They can make everything feel more intense, more personal, more threatening. But emotional regulation allows us to step outside of that storm, to see things more clearly, and to approach the situation with a sense of calm. It doesn't mean that we ignore the intensity of the emotions. Rather, we acknowledge them and choose not to let them control our response. One of the ways emotional regulation works is by allowing us to pause and reflect on what's really going on. When we feel triggered, we can take a moment to ask ourselves, what is this really about? Often, when we're in the midst of a toxic situation, the emotions we feel aren't just about what's happening in that moment. They're often tied to something deeper, past experiences, insecurities, unmet needs. Emotional regulation gives us the ability to dig deeper, to explore the root cause of our emotional response, rather than simply reacting to the surface level conflict. This deeper understanding helps us respond in a way that's more thoughtful, more aligned with who we want to be. And as we become more skilled at emotional regulation, we begin to notice a shift in the way we interact with others. Instead of reacting out of defensiveness or fear, we begin to respond with intention. We can still set boundaries, express our feelings, and stand up for ourselves, but we do so with a calm, centered energy, rather than being swept up in the chaos. This creates a new dynamic, one where we are no longer at the mercy of the toxic behavior around us, but instead, we are in control of how we engage with it. This is where emotional regulation becomes truly transformative. It's not just about handling the toxic situation in the moment, it's about shifting our entire approach to conflict. We stop seeing toxicity as something that happens to us,
Them
and start
rickety
seeing it as
vans,
something we can
them
navigate
buses,
with grace.
them charter buses. When the train station
Instead of
here
reacting in
in
ways that reinforce
downtown
the
been already
negativity,
fixed,
we
if it was
respond
the
in ways
same
that
problem, why
elevate
is it
the
taking longer
entire
to fix in
situation.
our neighborhoods?
We don't add to the noise. We become
Why
the
is the
stewards
train
of
taking
the
so long to
storm signal.
fix? We got places to be.
Let's consider a real-world example. Imagine you're in a meeting where your colleague is constantly interrupting
You want to know what I gotta
dismissing your
say?
ideas and undermining your
Jersey
contributions.
City
Your
is
initial
so
reaction might be
diverse.
to get defensive, to
So
raise your
why do
voice,
we treat
or
black
to shut
people the
down.
way we do?
But if
We
you've
need
developed
we need a
emotional
minute.
regulation,
Right
you would
here.
recognize that this reaction, as natural as it feels, will only escalate the situation. So, you take a deep breath. You pause. You pause. You decide to respond with calm, acknowledging your feelings without letting them dictate your actions. You might calmly express how you feel without attacking the other person, and set a boundary around the way you want to be treated. In that moment, you've not only navigated a toxic situation with grace, but you've also created an opportunity for a more constructive conversation. You used your emotional intelligence to elevate the interaction, rather than fall into the trap of defensiveness or aggression. Emotional regulation isn't just about keeping your cool, it's about making the conscious decision to respond with intention, to rise above the noise, and to bring a sense of calm into the storm. When we practice emotional regulation, we reclaim our power. We stop letting others dictate how we feel and respond. And in doing so, we not only thrive in the face of toxicity, we transform it. In the end, emotional regulation is the anchor that keeps us grounded in the midst of chaos. It is the power to choose our response, to stand firm in our values, and to move through life's challenges with clarity and composure. Resilience is often thought of as the ability to bounce back after hardship, to withstand the storm and emerge unscathed. But resilience is not about simply enduring difficulties. It's about using those difficulties as stepping stones for growth. It's about understanding that each challenge we face, no matter how toxic or painful, carries with it the potential for deeper wisdom and greater strength. Emotional intelligence cultivates this kind of resilience, turning every toxic interaction, every difficult moment, into an opportunity for reflection, learning, and growth. Think about it. Life will always present challenges. We will encounter toxic people, difficult situations, and moments of intense frustration. These experiences are inevitable. But resilience is what allows us to approach these experiences not as threats, but as teachers. In the face of adversity, instead of crumbling or allowing the situation to define us, emotional intelligence helps us step back and reflect on what we can learn from it. We don't just survive the experience, we allow it to shape us into something stronger, more grounded, more aware of who we are and what we stand for. The key to building this kind of resilience is not about pretending that everything is okay when it's not. It's not about forcing ourselves to be positive or minimizing the hurt we feel. Emotional intelligence teaches us to embrace our feelings, to sit with discomfort, and to explore what the situation is revealing to us about ourselves. The moment we accept that adversity is part of life's grand design, we can begin to look at it not as a setback, but as a stepping stone towards something greater. In toxic situations, emotional intelligence invites us to pause and reflect. Rather than reacting impulsively, it encourages us to ask ourselves, what is this situation trying to teach me? What is it about this experience that's triggering something deep within me? These questions aren't about self-blame or excuses. They are about gaining clarity, about understanding how we can grow from what's happening, rather than being overwhelmed by it. For instance, think about a difficult conversation you've had with a colleague or a friend. They may have said something hurtful or dismissed your ideas in a way that left you feeling small. In that moment, it's easy to fall into a defensive posture or shut down completely. But
Them
emotional
rickety
intelligence
vans,
encourages us to take a
them
step back,
buses, them
to
charter
examine the
buses.
situation with a
When
calm,
the train
clear
stations here
mind.
in downtown been
We
already
might
fixed,
reflect on
if
why
it
that
was the
comment
same
stung so
problem, why
much.
it's taking longer to
Was it
fix
the
in our
tone?
neighborhoods?
The content? Was it something about
Why
the
is the
person
train taking so long to
triggering
fix?
deeper
We got
insecurity
places
or
to
fear
be.
within us? This kind of reflection doesn't mean we have to accept it.
You want to know what I gotta say? Jersey City
Emotional
is
intelligence helps
so
us build the boundaries
diverse.
we need to protect ourselves.
So why
But
do
it does
we
mean that
treat
we don't
black
let those
people the
difficult
way we
situations
do?
define our
Oh,
worth.
we need a medic right here.
Instead, we learn to see them for what they are. Opportunities to reflect, to grow, and to strengthen our emotional resilience. In every toxic interaction, there's a chance to become more aware of our emotional landscape, to better understand our triggers, and to refine our responses. One of the most powerful ways that emotional intelligence fosters resilience is through the practice of reframing. When we reframe a toxic situation, we look at it from a new angle. We begin to see it not as a personal attack, but as a reflection of the other person's struggles, fears, or insecurities. In doing so, we detach from the emotional weight of the situation and regain control over how we respond. Instead of being emotionally reactive, we choose to see the bigger picture, understanding that people's toxic behavior is often a reflection of their own pain and not a reflection of our own value. This reframing also allows us to release the need for validation from others. So, when we stop expecting others to act a certain way or treat us a certain way, we free ourselves from the emotional roller coaster that comes with trying to control how others behave. We learn to find validation from within, from the way we show up in the world, from the way we respond to life's challenges. The more we practice reframing, the stronger our emotional resilience becomes, because we stop allowing external events to dictate our emotional state. We choose how to respond, no matter what is happening around us. Another key aspect of resilience is the ability to let go, to release the emotional weight of toxic situations that no longer serve us. Emotional intelligence teaches us that holding on to anger, resentment, or fear only keeps us stuck in the past. These negative emotions drain our energy and prevent us from moving forward. But when we cultivate emotional resilience, we learn to let go. We understand that forgiveness, not for the other person's sake, but for our own, is a powerful tool for emotional healing. Letting go of negative emotions is not about excusing bad behavior. It's about freeing ourselves from the grip of toxicity so we can move forward with a sense of peace and purpose. In this sense, resilience is about returning to balance, coming back to a place of emotional stability after being thrown off course. It's about learning to bounce back stronger, wiser, and more in tune with who we are. When we build resilience through emotional intelligence, we stop seeing ourselves as victims of toxic behavior. Instead, we see ourselves as active participants in our own growth. We take responsibility for how we respond, and in doing so, we reclaim our power. It's also important to recognize that resilience is not a one-time achievement. It's an ongoing process. Every time we face a toxic situation, we have the opportunity to deepen our resilience. Each challenge adds another layer of strength, another lesson learned. And as we become more resilient, we also become more compassionate, both with ourselves and with others. We begin to see that the struggles we face are part of the greater human experience, and we approach them with greater empathy, patience, and understanding. In the end, resilience is not just about bouncing back from life's challenges. It's about transforming those challenges into opportunities for growth, self-discovery, and deeper connection with the world around us. When we embrace emotional intelligence, we learn to navigate toxicity not as something to be feared or avoided, but as a catalyst for our own transformation. We don't just survive life's storms, we thrive in them. So remember this: resilience isn't about avoiding the storm. It's about learning to dance in the rain,